Hey folks, Steve Gamache here with the Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and this time we are looking at the Goko Nashiji Shirogami or white paper number 1 Santoku 165mm knife. The core steel is Shirogami or white paper number 1 Hitachi reactive carbon steel. The heat treat's about 60 Rockwell, so they don't take it super high, which means you get a little more forgiveness in this knife steel. The construction is a softer stainless cladding on each side of that core steel for lower maintenance, so it's a 3-layer sandwich. And the Nashiji stands for pear skin, and it's got kind of a mottled finish on it on each side. It's a little smoother on the left side of the blade in this particular one than the right side of the blade, but it's a nicely done Nashiji finish, and we'll get a closer up look at that. The weight on the blade is 4.7 ounces, 134 grams. Blade length on this particular sample, and these are all going to vary, they're handmade, so they'll vary a little bit in dimension and weight. About 170 millimeter on the edge on this one. Overall length right about a foot, 12 inches. The spine thickness coming out of the handle above the back of the blade is about 3.1 millimeters on this sample. Again, that's going to vary. And it starts to taper down and then pretty much holds a lot of that thickness right until you hit the grind towards the tip right here. So this doesn't have a lot of distal taper. That results in a blade that's pretty darn stiff. It's got a lot of rigidity to it, confidence inspiring because of that. This is a fairly tall knife for its size, so it's 52.2 millimeters tall. And the handle is a D-shaped chestnut plastic ferrule. It's kind of a dyed wood with a lot of grippy texture to it. Nothing fancy. It's lightweight. Does the job well. You could easily upgrade this knife. It's good enough to upgrade to a nicer handle at some point if you wanted to do that. But the circumference on this handle is right about 3 inches where the ferrule wood junction is. Let's take a close-up look at the blade. So you've got some chiseled kanji. It's not a deep etch on it or chisel, but it's there. And you've got a pretty smooth Nashiji finish on it. As I said, the back side of the blade or the left side of the blade is even smoother. It's easy to see the cladding line where the core steel meets the cladding, and it's also easy to see where the grind starts from the blade's flats where they grind it down into the edge. So these are fairly thin at the edge, not super duper thin. So again, the core steel being a little bit less hard than some, and also not having them super skinny at the edge gives you more robust edge. So these are a nice line of knives for people kind of new to Japanese steel and harder steel and thinner edges. It's not on the hyper end of things. These have a great performance to them despite not having a lot of distal taper. They really go through product better than you would expect. Fit and finish is really pretty good. You've got a bit of a polish to the spine and enough relief on the choil into the neck where there's really not anything you've got to do. They've got a really good out-of-box edge on these. They're not too shy also with the edge bevel angle, so they've got a fairly aggressive edge bevel on there with a pretty high polish to it. I'm going to give these a good 6 out of 7 out of 10. So this one was, out of the box, just take it and start using it. There's nothing you really have to do to it. We'll back off a little bit here. Balance point on this knife is a little bit behind a pinch grip because it's a little bit shorter blade. The handle's light though, which kind of helps that. So about 1 inch in front of the handle. And for me, it's pretty close to the pinch grip, so it gives you a nice, neutral feeling. These knives have been on the site a while, and sometimes they get overlooked in favor of some of the newer lines that come out on the Chef Knives to Go site, and they really shouldn't. And I'm going to make more of an effort also after this latest round of using one of these, the 210 Gyuto, and looking at this one. These are a high-value line of knives. They're well done. They don't have quite the mystique of, let's say, the Fujiwara Teruyas Nashiji line. They don't have that mystical high hardness steel to them and quite the soul, but they are very, very good knives nonetheless for a lower price point, and they're quite consistent in the blades that I've seen being ground well and just done a nice job on the blades. So here's the profile on this one. Again, you can see it's pretty tall. but not a flat spot much of anything. It's just kind of a gentle curve. It's kind of you can see it's quite flat overall, but there's not a true flat spot. So you're not going to get real high on this blade without digging the tip in. It's just the nature of this one does not have a lot of belly towards the tip. Now that could be different on different knives. Sometimes they have different profiles on them, but here's what this one looks like. So this would very well lend itself to a chopping with a little bit of, I guess a little bit of movement to your stroke, so you can utilize some of the curve of the blade. Trying to think if there's anything else to add here. I think we covered it. So, these are nicely done knives. Great price point on them. They've got a lot of character to them, and they're handcrafted, stainless over, easy to sharpen, Shirogami or white paper number 1. So really great value proposition blade. So there you have the Goko Nashiji white number 1 Santoku 165mm knife.